What's happening in Haryana? This is the first and foremost question that comes to every concerned citizen of India. When we see the reports of dual suicide inside Haryana police, and it has created a lot of controversy in the previous few weeks, which obviously raises this question that who is going to police the police? What is going to happen to the common man if senior officers of the Haryana police are not getting their dues, their justice? How can this broken system ensures accountability, transparency, and ensure that the common man of India gets their due and justice? So this is the fundamental question that is being asked all around the country. And in this lecture also, I'm going to explore all these issues one by one. What is ailing our policing system, not just Haryana, but across the country? There are significant, serious challenges associated with policing, police department, their relationship with the politicians, criminalization, corruption, custodial torture, their attitude toward the common public, the internal pressure inside the policing system, the asymmetry which lies there when it comes to genders, when it comes to giving accountability. So a lot of questions are being asked because of this case, what has happened in Haryana. So that is why we are going to discuss this today in detail, in depth. It is highly relevant for GS Paper 2, UPSC Civil Services Examination, and for GS Paper 4, ethics as well. But before I start, obviously, this is something which is an important announcement that SRIRAM IAS, we are offering what flat off at this festival sale. Deepavali is coming, so very happy Deepavali to you all in advance. There are still what 5 days to go, but it's yeah, the atmosphere is very festive all around the country. So in a way, in this spirit of festival, there are substantial benefits which you can get if you go for the variety of courses that we offer at SRIRAM IAS. Definitely explore the courses and see what best works for you. Now, in Haryana's case, it all started few days back when a senior officer of the Haryana police, that is an Indian police service officer, none other than an IPS officer of more than 20 years of service, committed suicide with his service revolver and writing a suicide note blaming senior IPS officers and IAS officers of the state for caste discrimination, for humiliation, for harassment, leveling serious charges against the top echelon of the state police bureaucracy and administrative bureaucracy. Obviously, which created a lot of political controversy also because he belonged to the Dalit community. But later on, a new twist has came in the case when a Sandeep Kumar, an assistant sub-inspector who was charged with prosecuting the gunman of the said IPS, committed suicide, and he also gave a video note in which he mentioned that he was investigating the gunman of the late IPS, and he leveled serious charges like the late IPS was involved in systematic corruption. There were cases of sexual harassment of the women constables for transfers, for postings, and there were extortion which was raised by different business people of the area as well. So all in all, this case, which looked like initially a case of departmental egoism, departmental conflict. It was a case which was seen initially as an excessive psychological pressure, which is there as a part and parcel of the policing system, because of which the IPS was in deep distress and duress, and that is why he committed the suicide. Now it is being coming into sex abuse, gangsters, bribes. So all in all, it is a very, very bad PR for the reputation of the Haryana police. And remember, this is no ordinary thing. However, if you see the hierarchy of the police in the state, obviously around the country, this is the common hierarchy. The person who committed suicide recently is an ASI, the sub-inspector, assistant sub-inspector, and senior IPS who committed suicide was IGP rank officer. So you can see the gap between the two. He was a gazetted officer who committed suicide, leveling serious charges, leveling issues of caste discrimination, caste bias also. But however, this has completely twisted. The case is completely twisted. And taking this case as the base, we have to ask the pertinent questions. which are relevant for the system. Because this is not the first time that such cases have exposed the hidden ugliness which lies beneath the rotten bureaucratic system of the states. This is not the first case, will not be the last case. Again, these recurrent themes will come up. There is definitely no doubt in my mind that this will come up again, because there are serious systematic structural issues with India's policing. India's policing is rotten. India's policing is systematically deranged. India's policing needs systematic reforms. But before that, we talk about the reforms, you need to understand what are the issues with the policing system in India. So, challenges, what are the challenges that we have? So, first and foremost, the structural challenge, that is, it's a colonial legacy. It was created in 1861 through Police Act. It gave a permanent character to the police. 1861 Act, it was meant to control the natives. The police system were designed to control the natives, maintenance of law and order, so that India's resources can be exploited in peace by the Britishers. And even now, after what, 160, 70 years, even later, we still are following the same laws. The government of India changed the Indian Penal Code 1860. They replaced it with Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, but they are not serious about replacing the Indian Police Act. Political interference is supreme in the policing system. The political parties in power, they use the police as a handmaiden, as an instrument to harass their opponents, to crush dissent, to show brutal force to the supporters and the detractors alike. So that is why they are not interested in changing the Police Act, making the system more accountable. Lack of autonomy and clear accountability. Absolutely messed up things are there. Absolutely messed up. There is no accountability at all. Direct accountability for the public, there is nothing at all. Behavioral issues are there with the police. Majority of the policemen that are deployed across our states are what? Constables. Constabulary level pay, maximum police officers exist, more than 86%. However, there are significant shortages of the police officers at that level. India is a huge country. We need more police persons, but we don't have them per capita basis. If you see the comparison, we have very, very less number of police. The country, by and large, is governed and managed because we are peaceful people. That is the reason. Otherwise, it would have been a complete mess. Now, when you are understaffed, sometimes some reports claim that up to 25% understaffing is there, less number of people are there, more pressure, work pressure is there. And it's a 24/7 hour job. It's an emergency services, no? Policing like fire services. So you have to be up your toe all the time. You have to listen abuses from your seniors. You have to suffer criticism from the public. You have to suffer many times humiliation from the politicians. Gender and caste bias in policing is definitely there. Police forces in India go for moral policing also. They go for challenging the variety of aspects of modernity. They are, in a way, seen some a institution which is highly unsympathetic to the poor, to the downtrodden, to the underprivileged. Overwork, poor mental health, lot of family related issues you see because of the excessive work pressure. The family relations also get impacted because of which. Institutional gaps are there. There are no internal vigilance per se. Absolutely weak. Weak internal vigilance, poor implementation of the Supreme Court guidelines, which I will explain, and absence of effective police complaint authority and mechanism, because of which there is a highly serious cases of misuse of power, custodial tortures, custodial deaths, excessive use of violence against commoners and laypersons, violating their right to life, Article 21, right of arrested persons, Article 22. There are a variety of constitutional rights in India which are directly connected with how the policing system operates in India. So this is a very significant aspect that we have. And that is why there are, in the last 70 years, there have been many commissions and inquiries and committees which got constituted time to time to look into the policing reforms. Like the National Police Commission 1997. Over a period of 6 years, they have submitted many of the reports to the government. Then you had the Reborio Committee as per the direction of the Supreme Court in 1998. Then Padmanabhan Committee in 2000. January 2000. Then in December 2000, you had the Malimath Committee for the Criminal Justice System Reform. Then you have Police Act Drafting Committee 2005, ARC Administrative Reform Commission, they also talked about it. 2006 Supreme Court guidelines in the Prakash Singh versus Union of India case, and 2015 Police Act Drafting Committee, which gave suggestions for the model policing acts. Remember, police under the 7th schedule is a state subject. It's not a union government subject. It's a state subject. States have the powers. However, the central government can recommend model laws, model acts for the implementation within the states. So Prakash Singh case is the most important one which we have seen. And they have given a total of 7 recommendations for the state governments. 6 of them are for state governments. 7th is for the union government. They have spoken about how through these measures a systematic set of accountability, transparency, integrity, responsibility in the system will be ensured if these guidelines are properly implemented. So police reform was done or tried to be achieved by the Honorable Supreme Court of India in Prakash Singh case 2006. The first recommendation they gave was that constituted state security commission, which the Reverio committee is also recommended. Go for fixed 2-year tenure for DGP so that the DGP is not suffers from excessive political control or excessive political interference. They should have security of tenure at least for 2 years. 2-year term for SPs and SHOs are also very important at the ground level, at the district level, so that they are also somewhat immune from the excessive political interference and excessive political requirements or exigencies, which arises obviously from time to time. Separate investigation and law and order functions, very, very critical, because the same constabulary, the same SHOs, the same DSPs, CSPs, SPs go for maintenance of law and order, and at the same time they go for going for investigations for criminal offenses and otherwise. So because of which there is a conflict of interest also, the overburden aspect is there, and plus these two things, investigation and law and order, these requires separate set of professional competencies. So the police force, there should be, inside the police force, there should be, vertically they should be divided. One segment should deal with investigation, powered by technology. There are a variety of technologies these days, DNA testing to forensic laws, etc. And then one should be for law and order, crowd management, crowd behavior, etc. Set up police establishment board at the state level for all the transfer, promotion and posting related aspects of the police, so that the political interference in that can be eliminated. Set up police complaints authority, very, very important, on the lines of the UK system, where they have police complaint authorities where the people can directly complain about a conduct of a police person to the said authority. That is very, very important, very critical. And the 7th recommendation they gave were specifically for the central government, and that is set up National Security Commission at the center level, so that these central armed police organizations like BSF, like NSG, these set of these organizations, SSBs, CISF, all of them, the leadership level appointment can be done accordingly. So these are the 7 most important recommendations offered by the Honorable Supreme Court in Prakash Singh case. But many of our state governments are reluctant to implement them. They don't want to lose their control over the police, be it the BJP, be it the Congress party or any other party in question, regional party. They don't want to lose their control over the police because there is a strong nexus. This cancer of criminalization, this cancer of politicization, this is raging across the political system in India. And the main danda, as we call, the main tool to implement these unsavory things is the police. And unfortunately, this is the reality of India. This is the reality of our living experience. All of us, in one form or another in our life, must have suffered from police excess. It could be a traffic guy who might have asked you more money or simply asked you bribe. Even though you have the papers, you have followed the norms and the law. It could be a police person who simply stopped you at night when you were returning home. Or it could be a police person who was simply strolling around asking you weird questions. So there have been many such instances. There are violent instances also. If you have been a member of a student political body in a university, you must have encountered the police. So firsthand we know how corrupt the system is. Everything is being run by either money or political interference. There is no scope for integrity, there is no scope for honesty or accountability or responsibility. These terms, these values, these norms are alien to the local police officers. So this is a systematic, serious issue. Now, what we can do about it? How Haryana case, which has opened the can of worms, as if, how can we put the lid on it? So there are reforms which are needed, reforms which are critical, reforms which is the need of the hour, like institutional reforms. Independent police complaint authorities are must to ensure accountability in the eyes of the public and restore trust in the eyes of the public. Because remember, the most important visible state institution that a common public, common man or woman encounters in day-to-day life is police. We also encounter PWD or electric department or transport department, municipal corporations. But the most visible, because police wear the uniforms, they are engaged in law and order management, is the police. And unfortunately, during the British era, police was seen as the instrument of British control. It was seen as anti-public, anti-people. And that idea, that attitude is still hovering around, even after so many years of independence, because the Police Act is intact of 1861. Separate investigation from law and order, fixed tenure for DGP and senior officers as per the Prakash Singh case. Technological reforms are very important, like in the thing which is there with the USA police, that body worn cameras, CCTV stations, very, very important. CCTVs, body worn cameras, these technological innovation interventions can help resolve many issues of access, custodial tortures, custodial deaths, harassment of the public, corruption, asking bribe, everything can be addressed if this technology we get it properly. Then digitize FIR, like CCTNS system, crime and criminal tracking network system, e-records for transparency is very, very crucial. Then human resource and training, very, very important. At the heart of the policing system is the police person who is coming from the same society you and me belong to. They also share the same biases, prejudices, hopes, cultural aspects, customs, etc. They are not coming from planet Mars or Jupiter. They're coming from our own localities. They're not aliens. They are us. So you need to focus on them, their families, their ethical aspects, the maintenance of empathy, sympathy in them, continuous in service training, more emotional intelligence related courses should be taught to them, more yoga, more behavioral change aspects should be taught to them, so that they become more responsive, they become more accountable, and most important, more sympathetic to the people. Stress management, gender sensitivity is very, very important. And citizen-centric reforms like community policing, like Kerala's Janmethi or Maharashtra's Mohalla committees and citizen charters are very, very crucial public grievance redressal platforms, etc., where we can raise our issues directly. But the biggest roadblock in front of all these reforms lies the political system. We don't demand accountability from the politicians. This is the problem for us. And that is why all these things are happening. So between autonomy of the system and accountability of the system, you have dilemmas, serious systematic dilemmas. But in this year of our independence, after 1947, this is 2025, within next 2 years, India will complete 80th year of independence. By that time, at least, we should have in place proper systematic structural police reforms as recommended by the various distinguished committees and the Honorable Supreme Court of India. That should be the motto, and that should be the demand which should come from the public, ordinary people like you and me. Only then this will be achieved. Otherwise, this will be a distant dream. And no matter how good per capita income is, how better the public transport infrastructure is, how technological savvy we become, as long as the police is that way, it is rotten, it is corrupt, it is unresponsive, the living experience of our public, our people like you and me, is not going to change. The question which can come directly from such topics is this main specific question to 50 words, 15 marker. Despite multiple commissions and Supreme Court directives, police reform in India remains largely unimplemented. This is the definitive statement. Critically examine the reasons for this persistent inertia and suggest measures to ensure accountability, professionalism, and autonomy in policing. GS paper 2, a sweet question may come like this. So try to write it and send it to me. You can send directly to me. You can join me on my Telegram channel as well, so that the communication between, at least not, if not between police and the common public, between you and me will remain in place. Thank you for giving me your time. I'll meet you again some other time with a new and interesting insight and topic for the UPSC Civil Services examination. If you find the content useful and relevant, definitely give it a like, share and subscribe. Thank you.